For Christmas, my wife got me this book that's absolutely amazing. It's called The Mamba Mentality by Kobe Bryant. And it's basically, it's picture driven, a lot of great pictures. It's him and the photographer actually for the Lakers the last 20 years during Kobe's career. Kind of documented, obviously he has all these great pictures of Kobe Bryant over the years. He talks about the pictures a little bit. He talks about his training. He talks about, going one-on-one with different players. Michael Jordan, right there, him going one-on-one with Michael Jordan. That's an epic picture, obviously. And he talks about what it was like to defend the greatest of all times. And he talks about his matchups with Kevin Garnett, with Allen Iverson, even a little bit of LeBron James. And he talked about how he defends those players and how he prepares to defend those players and how he offensively reacts to the way they defend. I highly recommend it. Obviously, I'm not sponsored or anything, but just if you love basketball, if you enjoyed Kobe Bryant's career, to help, his legacy live on and to really see who he was and how he prepared and how he played. Awesome book, especially if you still have hoop dreams, right? If you're younger than I am and you're still trying to make it, whether it's the league or just college basketball or just be better in high school, like there's some legit tips and tricks in here on footwork and preparation and things like that would be great, that I highly recommend. Like I said, this book is amazing. But I want to talk to you guys today a little bit about the Mamba mentality. You probably know about it, you've heard about it, you've heard that phrase, #Mamba mentality. I always kind of thought of the Mamba mentality as that killer instinct at the end of the games. The way that he could kind of put the team on his back when they needed someone to step up, when they needed to score. Kobe was that dude. And Kobe always seemed to rise to the occasion when the game was on the line and when they really needed him. And I thought that was the Mamba mentality. And that's not wrong. That's part of the Mamba mentality. But he mentions it in his book. He has a quote about what the Mamba mentality is. And to me, it means so much more than just in the game, right? Here's what he says. The mindset isn't about seeking a result. It's more about the process of getting that result. It's about the journey and the approach. It's a way of life. I do think that it's important in all endeavors to have that mentality. And so I love that, right? He's saying it's not about the result, right? I thought about game day. It's not just about game day. It's about how you get to game day. It's about how you prepare so that you can have that killer instinct and you can put the team on your back in the fourth quarter when they need you. And he says it's important in all endeavors to have that mentality. And so here's what I want to talk about, that it takes a little bit more if you really want to be great. A lot of people think they want to be great, theoretically say, oh yeah, it'd be cool to be great, but don't want to put in the work that it takes to be great. And it takes a lot of work. If you want to have that Mamba mentality in the fourth quarter, you have to have the Mamba mentality in preparation. He talks about getting up early and getting to the gym and the time that he studied in the details of film study, not just the X's and O's and the plays, but the footwork and the way a guy would lean a certain way. And he would pay attention to all that stuff, all that work, all that preparation, all that study, so that he could, in the fourth quarter, rise up and put the team on his back. The Mamba mentality is really being willing to do what it takes, everything that it takes, the sacrifice, the hard work that it takes to be great. And he has a quote about greatness in here a little bit later in the book, that he says a lot of people say they want to be great, but they're not willing to make the sacrifices necessary to achieve greatness. And I've talked about this before, because if you really want to be great in any area, not just in sports, but in music or at your job, your career, in relationships, with your family, with your friends, with your spouse, with your kids, if you want to be great, you got to do the work and put in the time and make the necessary sacrifices. Maybe you can't go out with your boys every Friday night. Maybe you need to spend some more time with your wife and kids. Maybe you can't spend as much time at the office, unless that's what you want to be great at. If that's what you want to be great at work, then put in the time to work and sacrifice here. You're going to have to maybe sacrifice sleep, or maybe it will be time with your kids. Kobe talked about he didn't want to sacrifice. He wanted to be great, and he knew he had to sacrifice time to put in the work, but he didn't want to sacrifice being a husband and a father. And so he would sacrifice sleep. He said he was totally okay with getting the time in with his wife and kids, even though it meant he had to get less sleep so he could put in the work, so he can go to workouts and put in the work. And he said he was absolutely willing to make that sacrifice. And he says something at the end of this quote that I think is interesting. And he says, a lot of people say they want to be great, but they're not willing to make the necessary sacrifices to achieve greatness. But then he goes on to say, that's totally fine. After all, greatness isn't for everybody. I don't know if I agree with that, because I do believe that maybe not in basketball, right? Not everybody's called to be great at basketball just because you like basketball, or just because you're good at basketball doesn't mean you're going to be great at it. But I do think that we were all created for something. So I think there is a purpose in your life that you were called to be great at, and I do think greatness is for everyone. Like I said, part of that is being a great husband, being a great father, being great in relationships, being great at your job. Whatever your job is, you should be great at it. I do think that maybe he put that last sentence in there just kind of as a challenge. Like, hey, maybe greatness isn't for you. But hopefully, like me, you read that and you're like, oh, really? You don't think I can be great? And so you kind of take that as a challenge and you're like, no, watch this. So when you think of Kobe Bryant and the Mamba mentality, what it takes to be great, it's not just about game day. It's not just about having the killer instinct when you need it. It's about everything that it takes to get ready for game day, all the preparation, all the sacrifices, all of those things. That's all the Mamba mentality. So it's been a little over a year since we lost Kobe Bryant, but I think it's so important to always remember what Kobe showed us in the Mamba mentality and the sacrifice that it takes to be great. Hey, thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, can you do 3 things for me? Can you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and tell your friends?